Hey guys, what's up? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC 250 Amanda Nunes against Felicia Spencer from the Apex in Las Vegas. As we're back into the swing of having UFC every week, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, guys, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like button, and please just drop a comment in the drop down box below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. A load of new subscribers last week, so I'm very much appreciate all the new people that came in and are starting to help my channel kind of grow a little bit. And just a thank you to all the many guys who've been here for many years supporting me. Hope everybody is well, hope everybody is safe, and I hope everyone is looking forward to this fight card where there is some great fights on tap. And obviously you've got the greatest fighter in the women's side of the fight ever. So looking forward to talking about some of these fights that we've got on here. I think there's some good betting opportunities. Kind of rectified, put the ship in the kind of right direction last week. Had a couple of decent bets, come out with profit after a few weeks of not getting profit. So I'm looking forward to really, hopefully, I've got a couple of bets in place, keeping this run going. I see some folks there in the chat. Appreciate everything that you guys are doing in the chat there, saying hi and stuff. So all the best. I've seen the Scotland flags there, Moy, so that's much appreciated. But like I say, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Please hit the thumbs up if you can, and I'm going to get into this fight card here. We've got a fight that was literally made over the weekend, and it's going to be another one of these catch weights that we had last week with Billy Quarantillo, Spike Carlisle. They fought at 150. This fight here is going to be 150, and a guy who's coming back, and Evan Dunham, which this was a surprise to me when I seen it. This guy had got himself a fight in the UFC again. He's facing off against Herbert Burns. I'm sure you recognise the surname. Herbert is the brother of Dorino, who absolutely blew Tyron Woodley out of the water last week. Much respect to that guy and that performance. It was just incredible. And another new guy at 170, and maybe the old guard of Woodley coming out and getting some of these new guys in. Very dangerous fight in every aspect. It was a great performance. So yeah, this kind of surprised me for the simple reason that obviously Dunham was retired. I didn't think he was ever going to see him again, but also he's kind of fighting down at a weight that he's never fought at before, I believe. I think he's always been a perennial 155 fighter in the lightweight division, so he's cutting down to 150, which is a little bit more extra for him. And he's against a guy who I think is very dangerous, but I think this is a fight, actually, depending what shape Dunham's in. And from the people that I kind of know about a little bit, he says he's been in and out the gym over the last, since he retired, whenever that would be. So he's been staying active. He's got the itch again that he wants to fight. You've got someone here in Herbert Burns who everybody was kind of laughing up or lauding his jiu-jitsu skills in his last fight, and then you see the clinch work that he showed against Nate Landwehr. He threw some really good knees before the knockout knee, hit him with a really crisp knee to the chin and knocked that guy dead. So when you watch some of his regional tape, there's times where he can be kind of dominated a little bit, but Dunham's not going to be that type of fighter that's going to really want to go into the space down in the ground there and look to kind of play in the ground with someone like Herbert Burns. I think that he could get into a lot of trouble if he goes down there. On the feet, I think if he was to stay steady up there. Now, he has been knocked out twice in his last two fights, Evan Dunham, but they're not... He's kind of like Matt Brown. He's weak to the body. And that's where he's kind of went down his last two fights. Trinaldo need him to the body. Obermercy got him to the body and took him out. So they're not head-jarring knockouts, but they are ones to the body that you know if you can attack that and have a lot of success there, you've got a very high chance of knocking that guy out with a body shot. I think this is a really close fight. I don't think there's going to be a hell of a lot in this one, depending on what shape and depending if Evan Dunham's like super rusty or whatever he may be. I think that he could give Herbert Burns a decent scrap here, but I think he has to kind of keep on the ground, and he has to kind of use that forward momentum, which you have seen him use in the Beneil Dariush fight. You've seen that second half of the fight where he really kind of pulled that fight around after getting hurt initially in the first part of that fight. But like I say, he's not won a fight in coming on nearly 4 years, so I don't know. I'm going to go with Herbert Burns here. I think that being in the camp that he's at, being in the camp with what his brother was doing, whether how much he was doing with his brother, I don't know, because obviously with the pandemic and stuff what's going on, we haven't probably seen if he's been full in there with his brother, if he's been in at Hard Knocks 365, who knows. But I'd rather take the guy who has been more consistently fighting over the last 2 years, and you've got someone like, say, in Dunham. He's a kind of veteran of that 155 division. But for me, I like Burns here. I think he should get the win. He should do enough. But I think he's going to do it by decision. I don't think he'll take Dunham out. Alonzo Menifield against Devin Clark. I'm seeing quite a lot of love for Devin Clark, and I can see why that would be the case. You've obviously got Alonzo Menifield, who is coming to the UFC and has absolutely ran through some guys. Paul Craig, he absolutely blasted through him very, very easily. And the guy, you can obviously see what his strength is Alonzo Menifield. The guy is a banger. Beating out Mamouti, I mean, you should knock that guy. You should really knock that guy. He's one of the worst guys I think we've ever had in the UFC, is Vinicius Moreira. And then you've got a guy in Paul Craig that he is so defensively flawed on the feet, and you've got someone like Menifield who's so fast and hits so hard that that fight was really just a kind of writing on the wall what was ever really going to happen. But now you've got someone here in Devin Clark who I think could pose some problems if he doesn't get hit with some shots. Now, we have seen Devin Clark floored a couple of times. We've seen him take some big shots, wobble a little bit. But I think Devin Clark's got all the tools here to maybe tie someone like Alonzo Menifield up a little bit and maybe push him into those later rounds, which we really haven't seen all too much from Alonzo Menifield. But then when you look at it, I can see a shot landing that jars Devin Clark at some point and really wobbles him out. Devin Clark's coming off that win over Daquan Townsend. Now, say what you want about Daquan Townsend, he was never really UFC caliber, but what the guy is really tough to kind of fight against because he's so long, quite a bulky guy. But Devin Clark, he really kind of just had the run of the mill with that guy. He really just took that fight in his stride. It probably if I was him, I'd been trying to get a kind of finish in that. But like I say, Townsend is a tough out to get out the cage. That's what I should say. But I can't not go against from what I've seen from Menifield, who a big athletic dude, very fast, fairly decent footwork, and I like his variation of shots. So for me, I'm going to take Alonzo Menifield. I'm seeing a lot of people that I think he was plus 220 at one point, Devin Clark. And I can see why you would take a shot up there, because like I said, I think there is a way that he could win the fight. I think he could tie up someone like Alonzo Menifield, and we'll maybe see more of his clinch game, see what his defense is like a little bit. But I'm interested to see if this gets pushed into 2 and pushed into 3. I just don't think it's going to get there. I think Alonzo Menifield's actually going to catch Devin Clark at some point in this first round and knock him out. But not super confident, but I think he can get him out of there quick, because like I said, I like the shots that the kid throws. So I'm going to take Alonzo Menifield via knockout, end of round number 1. Alex Perez against Jussier Formiga in the flyweight division is up next. This is a fight I'm looking forward to. There's a handful of fights on here I'm really looking forward to, and this is one of them. I've always been a big fan of just the skills of Formiga as a fighter. I think he's one of the toughest outs in the division, and Alex Perez is a guy that I've really liked since he came into the UFC. I mean, Formiga's kind of in the worst spot he's really been in the UFC. 2 losses. He got thoroughly kind of beat up. Not really beat up, but thoroughly kind of outclassed by Brandon Moreno. I didn't really see that coming. Brandon Moreno really put it all well together. Then he had the Joseph Benavidez one, got knocked out there. Not taking anything away, because he's against one of the best that the division will ever have in Beefcake, Joseph Benavidez. But he's got a win over Davison Figueiredo, where I went into that fight thinking, right, if he can get to the back, he's going to win rounds. And that's pretty much what you're going to get from Formiga. His striking went to American Top Team. A great Pettis fight, to get onto that back. Once he does, he can easily take rounds, and that's what he did against Sergio Pettis. Great performance against Ben Nguyen as well. So when you look at Alex Perez, I can't say I've been super impressed. I'll be honest with you. I think when he made the step up, there was a lot of people on Alex Perez when he was making that step up against Joseph Benavidez. I thought, in my opinion at that time, I thought that was a too big a step up. People were really thinking this guy was going to go on and do big things in the division, and I was heavy on the side of Joseph Benavidez now, and it was a little bit weird in some spots, but from what happened in that fight, if you go back and watch it. But since that fight, he's rebounded and he's absolutely kind of ran through Mark De La Rosa with ease, didn't really take too much damage there, and then managed to get a beautiful arm triangle choke against Jordan Espinosa. Guy's got a really good wrestling base, so he might be able to scramble a little bit with someone like Formiga. On the feet, I think he is the more powerful hitter, where I think Formiga's technical striking has definitely kind of came on leaps and bounds, like I said, since he went to ATT. But he's got that game changer, in my opinion, that if he can grab your back or he can get in a position, he can take rounds. And at flyweight, some of these fights can be super, super close. I bet Formiga, actually. I bet him at plus 125. I think the line is plus 120. I thought that was a good line. I don't think it'll get any higher than what I got it in over here in the UK. I can't really see Perez coming out here and using a wrestling-based game plan. I think striking, I think it's going to be very, very close between them. But I just think Formiga is going to have opportunities to possibly get positions where he could win large parts of the round. So I've got him to win a close decision. I've bet him at plus 125 there. So I've got Formiga for the win there. Moving on to... where have I lost it? Charles Byrd against Maki Pitolo. It's the first fight on the prelims here. This is one I really didn't delve too much into. I think there was better fights on here that I wanted to spend more time watching personally. You've got someone in Pitolo who I really don't class as a UFC caliber fighter. Personally, myself, I think the guy's obviously got some massive power. But really outside of that, he was kind of getting... I just don't think he's that great in the UFC. I think that he reached his level by, I think, getting the Dana White Contender Series, getting on there, and getting his opportunity in the UFC. But what I see is just a guy that kind of lays back a little bit too much, maybe relies on the power a little bit too much. But like I say, this is the fight I've not super looked into, if I'm being honest with you. I think that, like I say, I want to spend more time on other fights. And in that Callum Porter fight, I mean, he landed his fair amount of strikes. He kind of popped the head back of Callum Porter. But you've seen where his kind of disadvantages are. It's like, if you can take this guy to the ground, I think you can lay on him. I think you can advance position on him. That's what Callum Porter did. And that's what I think Charles Byrd can do. Charles Byrd, I don't think is super great either. But what I do think he is, I think he puts it all together very well. He's got rounded out skills a lot more than what Maki Pitolo is. I think he can strike. I think he can hit hard as well, but I think he can take you to the ground, and I think he can grapple just a far lot better than what Maki Pitolo can. But Charles Byrd, I mean, he's been around for a little bit. Comes from a great camp, obviously. Fortis MMA is coming off 2 losses, tough losses to 2 stoppage losses actually to Darren Stewart, where he got elbowed really badly and taken out there, and then he got buzzsawed through by. Brandon Nash, my man. I appreciate that. Thank you, bro. I think that might be the second time actually someone's ever donated to the channel, so that's much appreciated. So, and then Eamon Shabazian absolutely flew through him in no times at all. But Shabazian is the kind of real deal in that division. You can see him kind of going all the way to the top there. So that's you can't really take too much away from Charles Byrd. He just kind of ran into a buzz. So I've got Charles Byrd. I think he could submit Maki Pitolo at some point in this fight. I think he could win a decision. Just as long as he doesn't get caught with a big shot, I think that he could win the fight. So I've got Charles Byrd there. I'm going to take him via submission. I'm going to take him early round number 3. It's kind of weird up in here. I've got how many people are watching, how many likes, and then I've got a money signal. I've never seen that before. That's pretty damn cool. So thanks for that, Brandon. This is a great fight. Cody Stamann against Brian Kelleher. I'm actually pretty heavy on the Cody Stamann side here, even though Brian Kelleher has busted me a couple of times this year. Odie Osborne, I thought he could have did some damage to Brian Kelleher in that fight. Turned out not to be the case. Then you had the Hunter Azure fight. I thought, personally, and I know I put money on Hunter Azure. I had him in my parlay, which Brian Kelleher busted. But I thought Hunter Azure was on his way to being 2 rounds up before getting caught with that massive shot that knocked him out. He was letting Brian Kelleher into the fight even more. and that was his downfall. Hunter Azure, I think, could have grappled a little bit. You always have to be careful with someone like Brian Kelleher because he's got a go-to move with the guillotine choke. So you always have to be very, very careful of that. But I thought if Hunter Azure could just mix it up a little bit and try and maybe get some of the kind of takedowns, then I thought Hunter Azure could have really rounded that out. But he just wanted to kind of go in there and bang a little bit. And his striking did look good, Hunter. He landed some big shots as well. But ultimately, the power, Brian Kelleher really settled his feet and absolutely kind of laid it on him and knocked him out. But I think Cody Stamann, in my opinion, and he will be for a long time, is a perennial top 10 guy with a lot of talent and a lot of really fine attributes, which I think will keep him a strong, strong talent in the UFC for a long time to come. I think he will beat good guys. I think he will run good guys very, very closely. I can see him being one of these guys that you have to face to kind of get yourself into the top 10. A lot of people thought he won the Song Dong fight. I thought it was very close. I thought the draw was actually kind of right decision. But he mixes it up so well. He's got really good striking. He's obviously got a very short kind of reach. He uses it very well. He feints off very well. His footwork's actually pretty decent. And he can mix it up. You've seen in the Duquesnoy fight, really striking came to the forefront there. And he mixed it up with takedowns. Then he showed most of his striking in the Brian Caraway fight. Then you've seen the Sterling fight there where he went in there and got caught, tried to kind of take him down a couple of times and ended up getting caught. And Aljamain's a little bit funky, so sometimes he can really catch you with stuff like that. But I like him as a fighter. I think he's a very, very tough top guy in that division. Definitely a top 10 guy in my opinion. I don't see Brian Kelleher being a ranked guy. So I think Cody Stamann's going to try and kind of box him up a little bit, then look to get takedowns. And I think he can absolutely get takedowns and win that fight through that. So I've got Cody Stamann actually to win a pretty comprehensive decision. He's actually someone I'm looking into maybe putting a parlay together, and I just need to find the right piece, and I'm not sure. I've got someone else in kind of mind, but I'm not sure. I might just play straight plays. Like I said, I've got 2 bets. I've got another one I'm definitely going to make. It's coming up in a couple of fights soon. But I've got Cody Stamann via decision in that one there. Ian Heinisch against Gerald Meerschaert. Kind of like the Byrd and Pitolo fight. Not one I've looked into. I watched a couple of fights of each guy's. But this screams to me like a matchup that Ian Heinisch can do well in. Even though I think Gerald Meerschaert is definitely still making good gains within his overall skill set. I think his striking last time against Deron was as good as we've ever seen it. He was really, really, really dangerous. And when he got the opportunity, managed to get that submission, and that's where Gerald Meerschaert is ultimately very, very dangerous. But we've seen Heinisch in against some of these guys with good jiu-jitsu and so on that can go on and kind of tough it out. Someone said in the chat there that he should tough it out. That's a really good way of putting it, I think. It's that he can keep this standing and make this a brawl. I mean, he's coming off 2 losses. Some of the shines really came off Ian Heinisch after those losses to Akhmedov and Derek Brunson. But the guy, like you say, you look at the Cesar Ferreira and the Antonio Carlos Jr. fight, those were fights that the Brazilians definitely wanted to get to the ground. And he made it very tough for the fight to make it there. And if he can do that here, I do think that he can, like someone said in the chat there, tough it out in the feet and win a decision. I think that he can absolutely do that. Has to be careful with Meerschaert. Like I say, he is making improvements. He's a veteran of the sport. So many wins, so many fights as well. But I like Heinisch. Like I say, I've not looked into it too much, but I am going to go with Heinisch. I think he's changed camp for this one. I think that I've heard that he's leaving Colorado, and I think him and Nate Marquardt are like making a gym or moving to a gym in Thailand, I believe. So that's going to be interesting to see going forward what's going on with that. But I'm going to take Ian Heinisch. I think he toughs it out for a decision there. This fight here, Alex Caceres against Chase Hooper. I've seen some of the chat in there, guys. I see some people kind of confident in Chase Hooper. I don't know how people can be super confident in Chase Hooper yet. I think he's got a lot of things that he can absolutely put together and win fights in the UFC. I think they have to build him really properly. I don't know with this fight whether they're maybe giving him a name like this a little bit too soon, but I can see why they're giving him someone like Alex Caceres, who most of his wins, I mean, the guy's pretty much a 500 fighter, but he's been around the UFC for the longest time. He's lost to some bad fighters, fought some tough fighters hard, but he's been around the UFC for a long time, has Alex Caceres. And when you look at Alex Caceres, most of his losses, you've had Faber caught him, Jason Knight caught him, obviously Kron Gracie caught him. So he either loses by decision, close decision, or he kind of gets submitted. I think his takedown defense, there's a lot of people I've seen on social media kind of making out it's pretty bad. I don't think it's as bad as what people are making out. But this here is obviously, when you watch Chase Hooper, I feel the only way he can win a fight is through dragging this to the mat, because he's striking and his defense is piss poor. But the kid is like, he's only 20 years old. He's going to grow into that. I think he's maybe going to grow out of that division. He's going to have to go to 155. He is very tall, very lean, very. He's just a big guy for the division. But you can see on the mat that he flows beautifully. Honestly, he flows. You've seen that in the David Tamer fight now. Tamer comes out, throws a big strike, wobbles him, tries to put him in a choke, and he's literally jumping his legs off the cage, gets to the ground. But when he gets to the ground, you can see the technique that he has there. And you can see that in his fights prior to coming to the UFC. He gets beat up in the feet, but once he gets it to the mat, he can control you and he can flow to positions seamlessly. And that's a great thing to have at that age as well, 19 years old, where if you can take the fight there, you can absolutely win fights. And he did that against David Tamer. Now, Daniel Tamer, sorry, had the phantom tap. He tapped before that, and then he kind of toughed it out, and then eventually he had to tap. He had to go into a position where he was in full mount, and then got absolutely annihilated with strikes. And that's what he will look to do here. But I think Alex Caceres I think this is a good fight for Alex Caceres. If he keeps us in the feet, he is going to absolutely whoop on Chase Hooper. But I can see Chase Hooper maybe flying at legs, looking to get the fight to the ground through that, looking to clinch up, drop into his back. And if he can do that, and Caceres is stupid enough to move to the ground or go to the ground, then he's asking for trouble. He deserves to lose the fight if he does that. And I mean, he should be fairly half decent on the ground, considering he comes from MMA Lab, got John Crouch, but he's not all that great, and he can be kind of dominated in positions down there. I just think if he keeps this clearly standing, I think he absolutely whoops on Chase Hooper. Now, this could be one of these things that it looks really bad, because Chase Hooper from fight to fight could make massive gains with the age that he's at. But I just don't see that. You watch the Contender Series fight, I can't remember the name, the Hawaiian guy's name, I cannot remember, but he was getting beat up badly. But once he started to really put his game plan into motion, he looks good. Like I say, I really like what I see on the feet, on the ground from Chase Hooper, because like I say, he flows, and he's got very much a high chance of stopping the fight if he makes it there. I just think Alex Caceres doesn't let it get there. It might get there on the odd occasion. I can see Caceres possibly getting back to his feet, even though we've not really seen a great get-up game from him in the UFC over the years. I'm going to pick Alex Caceres, and honestly, I think I am probably going to end up betting Alex Caceres, as bad as it sounds. I think the line's going to go up. I think the Chase Hooper truthers are going to come out and just bet this line up. I think he's plus 135 for Caceres. I mean, he's got a massive experience gap here. I'm going to go Alex Caceres. I can only see this betting line go up as well. I don't see it really going down too much. I think more people will come in and definitely do it, but don't do it. Well, yeah, I can see why, but I don't know. I need to get back to this. If I'm picking underdogs, I need to bet them. I kind of did that last week in some spots. I bet who did I bet actually got blown out of the water? Clinton Abreu, which was an absolutely terrible bet. But if I feel like I need to get back to a couple of years ago where I was betting underdogs consistently, winning on them, and there's a couple of times this year where I've not betting them and it's kind of burnt me. I've went kind of other ways and it's kind of kicked me in the ass. So yeah, I've got 2 underdog bets so far. I think that's going to be number 3. I'm going to go Alex Caceres. I think he can I think he can hurt this kid on the feet. I think he's funky as well. So, but like I say, if this hits the mat and there's any kind of long time down there, Chase Hooper could maybe eat him up a little bit. But I'm going to go Alex Caceres in that one now. Moving on to the main card. Kicking off here, we've got the Sugar Show. We've got Sean O'Malley against Eddie Wineland. I think it's a perfect matchup. A perfect matchup for Sean O'Malley here. I think Eddie Wineland's definitely at the tail end of his career. Obviously, he's got far more experience in the big time, through the WEC, into the UFC. But his time is coming to an end. And then you've got someone like Sean O'Malley who, I mean, he looked great last time out. He absolutely ran through Teco Nunes, and he's been... I think he's going to... When I was watching videos of him that fight week, he just sounded different to me. He sounded like he was more focused in. He'd worked really hard in his jiu-jitsu as well, which is something that I heard him talk about. Getting himself out of his house, getting into the gym more, because I think he plays a lot of games, or Fortnite, or whatever it may be. And I think that he's really starting to round out his skills, but what he is on the feet, he's so versatile with his footwork, his speed, his choice of shot, his feints, that he's going to give someone like Eddie Wineland fits. To me, Eddie Wineland should have been fighting someone like Cody Garbrandt. To me, I think it's a mistake that Cody Garbrandt's not fighting someone like Eddie Wineland, who's not a ranked guy, a very, very tough guy. But that's the fight I think Cody Garbrandt should be having. So, but Sean O'Malley's getting the big opportunity for he's a kind of named guy within the division who's been around for a long time, and a guy who I think is definitely tailing off. I mean, I don't take that win over Gregory Popov too seriously, because Popov, I don't think he's all that great, and he went on to lose to Davy Grant. But what he is very tough, Eddie Wineland. I mean, it's not very often that he gets kind of sparked out. I think the last time was a way back like 6-7 years ago against Johnny Eduardo. But he has lost a couple of times since then to John Dodson, Alejandro Perez. He kind of got outed in those fights there. I just think the speed and elusiveness and just the variation of his strikes is going to catch Eddie Wineland here. And I think that this is going to be... I mean, they're putting him on the pay-per-view here. They've put him on the prelims before. They put him in spots where you can see that he's making good gains with his overall game, and he's just a talented fighter, is Sean O'Malley, and he's got a lot of people behind him. The guy's got a lot of fans. I'm a fan. I'm just looking forward to seeing what he does with this jump up in opponent, because going from Teddy Wineland, who is a perennial kind of top 15 guy, was for a long time. I just think Sean O'Malley's got too much for this kid, for Eddie Wineland here. I think that he's going to absolutely buzzsaw through him. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, actually. I shouldn't really say that, because I'm maybe disrespecting Eddie Wineland by saying he's going to buzzsaw through him. But I just think with the footwork, the speed, the variations of strikes, I just think it's going to maybe bamboozle someone like Eddie Wineland a little bit, and I think he's going to knock him out. Could he do it in the first round? Absolutely. I think he's got a high chance, but I think he could do it at any point in this fight. So MMA KO with another donation. This is pretty awesome. What's up, GT MMA? I've got Sean O'Malley. I've got him via knockout in this fight there. 2 donations in the same video. Jesus Christ, I've never had that before in my life. So that's a first. I've been around here a long time and never had that. So I appreciate that. This is one I've been going back and forward on. Neil Magny against Anthony Rocco Martin. I've seen you guys in the chat kind of talking about this fight a little bit, and I'm a little bit... my gut feelings on Neil Magny, I'll come out and say that, but I can see there's some people that are on Anthony Rocco Martin that have laid down some pretty hefty money in Rocco Martin, and I do think he's got some things here that could ultimately cause problems for Neil Magny, because when I look at Rocco Martin, I personally think he's pretty basic. I think everything's a little bit basic with his striking, with his overall kind of game, but he does use some very good strikes in there. I think his leg kicks can absolutely chop away at someone like Magny, and Magny that we've seen in the past, he's been very susceptible to getting chopped down with leg kicks. Lee tried to do it a little bit, but what he did well in that fight, if you watched it, he kind of knew when it was coming and managed to take that step back before kind of taking the brunt of those kind of low kicks. With the hands, I think that he's definitely at a reach disadvantage here of Neil Magny, who's got that over most people. He's very, very long. Rocco, I think his hand striking's basic. I love his kicks. I think they can definitely hurt there. And I think wrestling wise, I think he could maybe give Magny some problems in the wrestling there. I think that Magny might be able to clinch up with him a little bit and kind of win some spots and maybe drag him to the mat with some trips. I can see Rocco getting back to his feet. But I can see Magny getting the fight down to the ground. I think he could ultimately clinch up with him, use those long legs, use those long arms, clinch him up, get the underhooks or whatever it may be, get him against the cage, get trips, and kind of win parts of the fight there. But like I say, I like what I always seem to kind of pick against Anthony Rocco, man. I'm not honestly a big fan of his, but the guy's came a long way since he's moved to 170 personally. I think he moved his camp to Atlanta, so he's been with like the Assunção brothers, Douglas Lima. So he's a tough guy, and like I said, I seem to pick against him most times here. And my gut feeling when I heard this fight was being put together was, I quite like Neil Magny, and I felt like an absolute D-bag last time out because I don't know why I was kind of probably caught in the kind of hype of kind of Li Jingliang fighting. Maybe he seems to be one of those guys that'll kind of blast through in China, kind of outside of there, he kind of flattens to deceive a little bit, and that's what happened there. Neil Magny absolutely smashed him in that fight, absolutely dominated that fight, where he only took a few kind of bad blows in that one. But like I say, I think that Magny can use his reach advantage, and I think he can tie him up. I think he can get trips. I think he can win a decision comfortably. So I'm going to take Neil Magny to win via decision in that one there. Where are we? Oh, jeez, what a fight this is. Aljamain Sterling against Cory Sandhagen. The one thing I am pissed about with this fight is the fact it's not a main event, considering what we've got as a main event next week, or whatever week it may be. This fight deserves to kind of have a showcase spot. It's going to have a showcase spot in a pay-per-view, obviously. Wish it kind of had a better kind of main event to really maybe bring more people in. But you have got two of the top 5 in the best division in the UFC, because bantamweight, in my opinion, is the best division, and we've not even got a champion in that division anymore. So, yeah. What can you say about Aljamain Sterling? I mean, he's obviously very, very funky. He's always kind of monikered himself with that. Really good grappling, can tie you up if he gets you to the ground. But what we've seen recently, since the Moraes fight, is an evolution with his striking game, and the guy is very, very awkward on the feet. And he throws a lot of really good output, and you've seen that in his fights. Let me just bring up the stats here of the strikes that he's landed recently in this fight over Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz. Not bad guys. Top 15 guys. Munoz you will put as a top 10 guy. I think I would anyway. But his output has definitely made him more dangerous. And his length as well. He's quite a long guy. I think he's actually got the reach advantage over Sandhagen, who's also super, super long with his game. His variations of striking is beautiful as well. But you look at the Pedro Munoz, 174 strikes landed. The Rivera fight, 101, and he's not even using, which I think is his strong part. I think his grappling is his strong suit, and you kind of seen that in kind of full effect in the Stamann fight, where in positions you have to be very, very careful because he can catch you with funky stuff. And like I said, I'm a big Aljamain Sterling fan. You've heard me talk about it in the past. I think he's running into a guy at the wrong time here in Cory Sandhagen. He's coming off an injury, and I think he's just against a guy who is very, very good. I've, for the longest time, been kind of under the radar with Cory Sandhagen. I'm waiting to see it. But the confidence this guy has, to me, looks next level. I think that there's two guys, in my opinion, that are top of this division. I think it's Peter Yan, and I think it's Cory Sandhagen. When I went back and watched the Assunção fight a couple of weeks back, and then I watched it this afternoon again, and he had Raphael Assunção guessing on everything. And the one thing at the end of that, if you watch the end of that first round, he's like, I've got him. So his coaches really had to kind of temper his confidence a little bit, but he could see everything coming. And that is against one of the best guys, absolute top drawer guys at 135 in Assunção, who's faced everybody. He's beat some of the best guys, and he just never looked out of second gear. I know he got taken down. He did sweep a few times. He did manage to get out of some positions against Assunção, but he had Assunção guessing on everything. And this is another guy who can have high output. You've seen in his fights with John Lineker. I mean, he stood there and went toe-to-toe. I thought Lineker had a chance to win that fight, I'll be honest with you, but he mixed it up. He got some takedowns, took some good shots from John Lineker, but also landed some great shots. And we've seen that the kid's tough. You've seen that Alcantara fight where he was in the worst position imaginable against Alcantara, and he toughed it out and then absolutely smashed Alcantara in that second round there. I think, like I said, I'm going to pick Cory Sandhagen or bet Cory Sandhagen. I just think he is, right now, his confidence is sky high, and he's got someone in here who I think his awkwardness and his length is just not going to work here. Compared to like previous opponents who he had a longer reach advantage over, maybe athleticism advantage as well. I just think Cory Sandhagen's going to... Now, it'd be interesting to see if this fight hits the map, because I do think that Sandhagen can be taken down. And once you get there with Sterling, you could put yourself in some really bad positions, so you have to be super, super careful. But I think that Cory Sandhagen's... I've said this word before, bamboozle. I think he's going to really pick his strikes well. I think even though he's at a reach disadvantage, I think he uses it very, very well, and he mixes it up. He sees things very clearly. You watch that in the sound fight. When you see him headhunting a little bit, he will mix it up. He will go to the body with like really nice shots down there, leg kicks. He does everything very well. And like I said, I've been kind of on the back burner with Cory Sandhagen. There's been people that's borrowing him from the get-go. But I see it. I can see him being up there. Him and Peter Yan are going to be fighting for a belt soon. I think he beats Aljamain Sterling here. I think he out-volumes him. I think he's going to be first to the punch. I don't think he's going to take all that much damage. I think he does get taken down. He may get rided out a little bit, but I think he's going to cause Sterling some problems here. So I've got Cory Sandhagen via decision. The return of one of my favourite fighters on the entire UFC roster, the former UFC bantamweight champion Cody Garbrandt, comes back against one of the most respected, most talented fighters in the whole entire division in Raphael Assunção. And I've been going back and forth on this. I don't know whether it's the fan in me and Cody Garbrandt that's really pulling for him to win here, because I am pulling for him to win, but it's hard to really support a guy that, like that last fight. Now I had a bet on Garbrandt, and I think he's got so many advantages over so many guys in this division. I think he has elite power, and I think that he has elite hand speed. Like, elite in both of those things. And I think he's got great wrestling. I think he's overall a great athlete. But you can have everything that you want as a fighter, and he's got a lot of things. But once that flip switches and he starts to go into kind of berserker mode, his chin's just not there. And he's in a division with absolute killers. And I look at this fight here and I think, right, Assunção's not super dangerous. Well, he is dangerous, but he's not really known as a knockout artist. But when you look at the division, you look at the two guys before that, Sandhagen, I think, could knock him out. I think that Marlon Moraes could absolutely knock him out. I think Peter Yan could run a train on Cody Garbrandt. And this is me saying this as a massive Garbrandt fan. I think he's got all the tools in the world. I think he had his career night against Dominic Cruz 4 years ago, nearly 3.5 years ago. And that was an all-time great performance, in my opinion. But I think he's got a guy here who's very hungry to get back in the win column. Like I said before, the Sandhagen fight, I thought he fought an okay fight, but he was just outgunned. There was too much variation from Cory Sandhagen. And I'm interested to see what Cody Garbrandt here, with a new camp, with a new head coach, can he kind of change the mindset of Cody Garbrandt? I'm not sure you can take that out of a fighter. And I mean, he hurts guys in majority of his fights. He hurt Munoz, he hurt TJ Dillashaw, but he just goes in there where his chin is there to be got. And you cannot do that in this short tanker division. And Assunção, I think, is a really, like I said beforehand, he should have took someone like a Wineland who's going to be there, who's going to strike with him, he's not going to want to grapple. Garbrandt's got all these really good tendencies in his fight game, but he just cannot put majority of it together. And I think that if he sits back, tries and uses boxing, which I think he has amazing boxing, and like I said, I've mentioned his hand speed, I've mentioned his power, I think he's one of the hardest hitters down there. I just think Assunção can maybe snuff him out a little bit. I think Assunção's very, very talented in many, many aspects of his game as well. I think his in and out shots, I think he has to get into a close range here, and he's against someone that's a similar size, a similar kind of reach advantage, but he has to be careful obviously when he gets in very, very close with someone like Garbrandt, who can ultimately kind of hurt you with a lot of strikes. I see this one being close. I see Garbrandt maybe landing early, but I can see Assunção coming in late. My gut feeling was Cody Garbrandt, but I think that's the fan in me, desperate for this guy to win, because I really do want him to win. But I love watching Raphael Assunção. I have been a fan of his for many years, because I think for like being just a fighter, he is very, very solid in many aspects, loads of different areas, and I've got so much respect for him. I'm going to go Raphael Assunção via decision. I just, until I see Cody Garbrandt change as a fighter, fight to a game plan, don't throw your toys out the pram when you get hit with one solid shot. I can't do it right now. I've seen some people in the chat there saying that they're probably going to be betting Garbrandt. I think you're going to get a fairly decent line for it. Obviously, a guy that could end it in the first round. He could. But if he starts getting into that berserker mode, I think Assunção could definitely put him away as well. So I'm going to pick Raphael Assunção. I've got him via a very, very close split decision. I see him winning rounds 2 and 3. But if Cody gets that confidence back with his strike and lands something big, then he could definitely, I think, win all 3 rounds. But until I see Cody Garbrandt make changes and fight to a game plan and not fight stupid, I think that I'm going to pick Assunção for the win here. And moving on to the main event here, you've got Amanda Nunes against Felicia Spencer. And I've seen some of you guys mention or asking regarding the size of the cage, and it's obviously the small cage that they used at the weekend there, which there was a lot of good action with a smaller cage. And I actually think the smaller cage helps someone like Felicia Spencer with her kind of the way she fights personally. But I'm not going to come out here and pick Felicia Spencer. There's no way I'm going to do that. I do think Amanda Nunes' time's coming. I think that she's going to start fading away from the sport within the next couple of years, because I think Nina Ansarov's having a baby, so there's going to be some big life changes there. Whether she really cares about this division all too much, I don't think many people really care for the division too much. What you will see for Felicia Spencer, she fought very hard against Cyborg. Took a lot of big shots. She's got a decent chin. She can eat a lot. But I think as an overall fighter, I think that she's still far beyond what Amanda Nunes is. The one thing I'm kind of a little bit... When I was watching the Nunes fight with GDR again, I really thought she would get her out of there. I really did think she would get her out. I think I made a bet it was like by KO or submission. I think I had decent odds on that, and she never did it. She won by decision. So I was a little bit gutted about that. But, I mean, her wins in the UFC, Megan Anderson and Zara Fernandez Santos, she's got them out in the first round. 2 girls with obviously flawed ground games. You're looking at Nunes, who's a black belt. I think she's a better overall black belt. I think that Spencer is obviously a big kind of girl, wide, she can lay on top. She's got a good ground game. I think Nunes has got an overall better ground game. I think she's kind of outmatched a little bit, kind of in most of the places this fight kind of goes to. But what she is she's very, very tough. I'm going to lean Amanda Nunes. There's no point in me really talking about this fight all too much, because I think you know where I'm going. I'm not really making too much of a case for Felicia Spencer, not unless she can somehow get the back and kind of rein out there a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to pick Amanda Nunes. I think that she wins comfortably here. Could this be another one of these fights where she maybe sits back and puts a lot of damage on someone like Felicia Spencer. And like I say, Felicia Spencer is very tough. We've seen, like I say, we've seen her eat shots, and we've seen on the ground she can maybe hold her own down there. So someone said decision in there. Was it plus 350? There might be some value in that. I've got her to finish via TKO at some point in this fight. I think that accumulation of strikes will start to get to Spencer, and I think that she will fold a little bit. So I'm picking Amanda Nunes, mid part of this fight, TKO there. So I had up to 60 people in this chat, guys, which is incredible. I can see that most of you gave me some thumbs up, which I really do appreciate. If there's any late ones there, it would also be much appreciated. And to the guys that sent in the little bit of money into this channel here, I just want you to know that the money that you get sent into this channel literally goes into my daughter's bank account. So anything I make off YouTube goes into my daughter's bank account. So from the bottom of my heart, I really do thank you for doing that, because it doesn't matter how much it is. It's helping my daughter for the future, for whatever she wants to do, if we can help her out. So thank you so much, guys. I'm going to be back next week. I think it's Jess Guy against Cynthia Calvillo's the main event. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of a shitty main event, but I really do appreciate you guys sticking with me for 45 minutes. Until next week, guys, hit that button, subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you can. And if you've got any disagreements, if you agree with me, if you want to ask me questions, put them in the drop down box. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I really appreciate all the support. All the best, and enjoy UFC 250 this weekend.